All right, so I just wanted to make this quick little video of me putting in these flat response knock sensors. These are from ECU Masters. Here's the part number. You're gonna need the ones for the M12. That's what fits in our blocks. And basically what this is this is a knock sensor that's going to have the ability, if you change your pistons, your rods, any kind of compression ratio, basically anytime you change your internals, the stock knock sensors are not really going to be useful anymore because they only work with a specific frequency. So these allow you to change your internals and actually have a knock sensor that's going to read off of I'm going to be using the EMU Black from ECU Masters as my aftermarket. I have a 2001 IS300, and I'm using that as a plug and play parallel for the stock ECU. So you'll need two of these as well. And then also the other key important thing is you're going to need a 2-conductor shielded wire. I got mine from ProWire. This is 18 gauge. It's a little thick for the application, but it's what I had, so I'm going to use that. And this is some great shielded wire that ProWire makes, and I'll kind of show you guys what I'm doing along the process. All right, so I wanted to cover what came in the kit. Here's the kit part number if anybody wants it. And essentially what it has is your stud that goes into the block. It holds onto the knock sensor. Here's the knock sensor itself. This is a 2-lead knock sensor, and then of course you got your shielded wire. They give you 3 terminals in case you need an extra one in case you foul one up. I thought what was really cool is the design of the clip retainer is really cool. It has a really nice solid clip, and then it has this little release on it. I thought that was kind of cool. So here we go. Also just wanted to cover that on the back of the packaging will give you your wire denotion. So wire position 1 is going to be actual knock sensor input, and wire 2 is your sensor ground. And here are the torque specs for essentially it's really the nut that goes on the end, not so much of the stud threads that go into the block, because that's going to be tightened down when you tighten down this to spec. So this just goes in hand tight for the stud on the block, and I'll show you that. All right, so once you've cut your length of wire, I like to use a string. That way I can manipulate the string a little bit easier than the wire. What you're going to do is you're going to take off the outer shielding, and that's going to reveal the grounding shield for the shielded wire right there. And then what's underneath that is going to be your 2 or single or however many leads you have for your shielded wire, but this one needs 2, so there's a 2-conductor underneath there. And because this is the connector end, which is going to be the block off end for the shielding, so essentially what I'm going to do is pull back all the shielding. And then what you're going to do is, well, what I usually do is I pull the shielding, get a little pick in there. I don't know if I can do this with one hand on the camera, but I'll show you what I'm going to do. I'm going to pull that shielding off of the 2 conducting leads, and then snip that, because that's going to be the termination end at the connector. Okay, so next I just pull the leads apart, and this is which will save you some headache, is you want to put on the little seals before you strip the wire, and that'll be a lifesaver. Otherwise you're going to be fighting with getting all the little wires not to grab onto the waterproof seals. Could poke a hole in it, and so want to put those on before you strip the wires. It'd be a lifesaver. And then what I usually do is I'll put a piece of heat shrink right over the shielding part of it there as well, and then of course I'll be putting some wire protector on there as well. And then what we're going to do is next we're going to strip off a little bit of the ends of the leads, and then those are going to go into the pins. Okay, so next what we've got is the wire exposed. Sorry, it's having trouble focusing, and then what you want to do is when you put it on the pin, you want to make sure that you're not too far up into the connector, because then it'll hit the pin. And then I usually like to leave a little bit of the shielding left on it, because then what's going to happen is the seal is going to pull up and wrap around, come here little guy, the bottom part of the pin, and I'll show you what it looks like from there. What will really help you out is a good pair of wire strippers. Also to crimp them, I got these I think I got these on Amazon, and essentially they are a little crimp connector. There's a bunch of these out there. They're all kind of the same. Just make sure that they have the little I guess the right pin crimp connector piece. These work great. And then I found another set of crimpers as well that will do a really good job of rounding over the bottom side for the seal right there. So there we go. Alright, so now that we have the pins connected, all set, ready to go, now we're going to put them into the connector, and what you're going to have to do is you're going to pull out the retaining clip that is down inside the connector. This did take some doing, so I ended up using my little pick here, and I kind of grabbed it right in the middle and then pressed in and up, and then that way it pulled the little, I don't know if you can see them, but there are these little tabs right there and there. And then once that's out, then you can put the connector in, and then we're all set. Alright, so here's something else I wanted to mention, that when you put the terminals in, there is a orientation that they go. Why does this would focus? So I don't know if you can see it, but jeez. Okay, so it's got the two kind of clips on the side, and it kind of has like a duckbill clip because the pins inside the knock sensor are flat. So essentially you're just going to get the duckbill there, and then this flat side, come on, that little flat side goes on the outside. So for this one I had to kind of twist the wire to get it to go, jeez, like that, so that flat part's on the outside and that goes into the pin. All right. And here's what you should be left with. You like the wire? I like to put the little labels. There it goes. Yeah. All right, so I wanted to show everybody what where the knock sensor wiring goes. So your shielded wire comes in. Pin 1 goes to your actual knock sensor connectors. So knock sensor 1, knock sensor 2. Pin 1, I chose to use the white with the blue stripe as my pin 1, which goes there. Pin 2, which for me was the solid white, and that is your sensor ground. So I just put that to a plug, which will adapt into my harness, and then what you're going to have is the shield drains. So these are the outer coating, and that goes to the little all connections for the sensor drain for the ground for the shielded wire. And that's that. Okay, so once you've run your connecting wire with your knock sensors all the way through your harness, so here's my second one, here's my first one, and I have an extended harness, so as you can see, runs through the harness all the way. This will go through the firewall and into the ECU Masters for the 2001, IS300 for the plug and play harness to run the stock ECU in parallel. So this is kind of how it would look, and basically what I did is I took the sensor ground leads that for the knock sensors, and I made this little connector, and then I took it to the connector here, and this double goes into a single lead, which goes back into, jumping over into the black connector right here, because you can in the directions it says that you can consolidate the sensor grounds into a single lead if you need to, or multiple sensor grounds can go into the same pin. And then what you do is you grab your little pin out, and this one here I'm using, because for mine it was open, but you can also use 39 I guess, but I used 38 because it was already open, so it made it simple. And that takes care of the sensor ground. And then I have the drains are all right here. For the shielding drains are right here. So the shielding drains come all the way back into this same grounds for all the grounds. And that's it. Makes it nice and easy to pull apart, and that way I can keep everything modular. There we go. Sensors go. So we're replacing the stock knock sensor's location. So take your stock knock sensor out, and it goes into the same spot. Also, you want to make sure of, I've already done this on mine, but you want to make sure that this surface right here is completely clean. If you've painted the block, you want to make sure that you keep this surface nice and clean and fresh, because that's going to mate with the new knock sensor. So take the knock sensor off, and then what we're going to do is take our kit, and stud goes in, thread this all the way down, just hand tight is fine. It goes like that. Take knock sensor there, feeds on the stud, and then this you can, spin depending on where you want your harness to connect to, and then the nut goes on. And there goes the nut, and then this goes down to the torque spec that's on the package. I believe it's 11 foot-pounds.